All right. Well, today I wanted to talk about how much pre-selection matters in attracting women. This topic has been talked about a lot in the manosphere space, especially by people like Michael Sartain. It's a very interesting topic that I've wanted to talk about for a while, and I wanted to share some stories as well as my overall perspective on it. So this past year, about a year and a half ago, I was a groomsman in a friend's wedding, and the first night was a rehearsal dinner with all the groomsmen and the bridesmaids and the close family of the bride and groom. So I ended up getting paired with one of the bridesmaids who was fairly attractive. She was about 5 feet tall, definitely like shorter, petite, dark hair. She had a good body, nice tits, nice ass, and she was Italian. So she kind of had like the whole short, petite, fiery package kind of going on. So she kind of had the same personality as Snooki. She was like very much like a party girl. She actually had gone to the same university as I did. I didn't know her that well. And she also had a full arm sleeve and a tattoo on her sternum. So I remember introducing myself to her as we had met once, but it was such a long time ago. And I could tell instantly that she was into me pretty much from the get-go. And I had asked about her tattoos, and she started talking about her sleeve. And then I rolled up my sleeves on my dress shirt and started talking about mine as well. And she had touched my arm a couple times while looking at them. So she was into me from the start. And she'd asked if I was staying at the hotel most of them were staying at that night. And I had told her that I actually was staying at another hotel because I had brought a date. And then she jokingly said, she's like, "Ah, damn, you're no fun," and hit my arm. And we weren't allowed to bring our dates to the wedding rehearsal. So my date was back at the hotel. My date was fairly attractive. She was tall, about 5'9", cute face, but nothing special. And she had a good body. The bridesmaid was more attractive. I'll just put it lightly. And I was sitting at a table, a few tables away from the Italian bridesmaid. And I was sitting with the groomsmen, and she was sitting with the bridesmaid, and we were just eating dinner. And after we had all done eating, the Italian bridesmaid had walked over to the table, and she asked me to grab a drink with her. She just like walked right up to me, and we were flirting by the bar and talking about a lot of random stuff. And I think I was a little tipsy, and she had gone to the bathroom, so I was then just talking to my good friend, and then she walks right up behind me and just slaps my ass. And I turn around and just like laugh it off and tell her that she's like, I was joking. I was like, "Oh, you're sexually harassing me." And we just kind of banter on for a while. And after the cocktail hour, we ended up going back into the groomsmen's room, and we were just drinking and, just like goofing around. And all of a sudden there's a knock on the door, and it's the Italian bridesmaid with the actual, the bride of the wedding. They then come in, and while I'm talking to some of the groomsmen, she comes up and smacks my ass a second time in front of everybody, and everyone just like cracks up laughing. And a few of the groomsmen knew that she was like she was a little crazy, and she was kind of coming for me, and it was pretty hilarious. And not going to lie, I had a full on rager when that happened, and I ended up saying that I had to go back to my hotel as my date had been waiting there for the past 4 hours. So I felt kind of bad. And I had gone back to the hotel, and I remember telling my date what had happened, and she kind of laughed it off and said like, "Oh wow, I guess she probably likes you a lot." But it really didn't seem to faze her that much. And I found that girls really need to see live in person other women finding you attractive for it to for pre-selection to really, really work. I think stories can help paint a picture that you're pre-selected, but the real power is when they see it live, and that happened the following day. So the next day, the Italian bridesmaid and we flirted a little bit during the day, during when, we were all taking pictures, like the groomsmen pictures, the bridesmaid pictures, and a little bit after the wedding. But it wasn't until the walkout at the wedding reception where we had walked down the aisle. And when like the classic wedding, when the groomsmen and the bridesmaids all walk out and do a little dance and shit like that. And I was paired with this Italian bridesmaid, and we had walked out hand in hand. And right when we got to the main dance floor, she just like slapped my ass for the third time in front of everybody. There was like 100 people there, so it was pretty funny. It was a little embarrassing, but it was kind of funny. And everyone in the audience laughed hysterically. And my date, who was sitting at the table not too far away from this, when I sat back down at the table, she like lit up, and she had said to me, she's like, "Wow, you weren't kidding. She really does like you." And this, honestly, I feel like this did make her more attracted to me. She was already attracted to me, obviously, because, we had slept together the night before. She was my date for this wedding. But seeing this other girl that was slightly more attractive than her, like ignited a bigger spark of attraction that she had, but it made her even more attracted to me. And I think for pre-selection to really work, a girl has to be at least somewhat attracted to you physically and sexually. Otherwise, it just won't be effective. It just won't work. If a girl doesn't find you attractive or you're not her type, it doesn't matter like how many other girls find you attractive. That girl, she's not going to find you attractive. A girl has to be somewhat physically and sexually attracted to you for pre-selection to really work. That's just my experience. Other guys might have different experiences, and there's levels to this as well. I also think when a girl sees another girl like you, it creates it creates a lot of like competition anxiety in her. And she's thinking, wow, I like this guy, but this other girl really likes him too. So I need to outcompete this girl to get him, which doesn't work the opposite way. Like if a guy sees other guys trying to compete for the same girl, unless it's like not the Bachelor TV show, it won't cause him to feel, competition anxiety or make him more attracted to her. But it works with women as long as you are at least decently attractive and you're their type. I think both of those have to be. One of the reasons you are pre-selected by other women is they find you initially physically attractive in the first place. And that's not always the case. Like there's a lot of famous guys that, have a lot of pre-selection with women. There's guys who are like not super physically attractive, but they're just like, they're decent looking. They have a big social circle. They have a lot of charisma. Like pre-selection works for those guys as well, but you have to be at least somewhat decently attractive, I think, for it to work. And I think you really have to be a girl's type as well. It's like for both of these girls, they both like tall, dark-haired guys, athletic guys who have tattoos, and I just happened to, fit that mold that weekend. So that worked out for me. At the wedding reception, I had danced with my date for the next few hours, and we made out a bunch of times on the dance floor. And I remember towards the end of the night, my date had gone to the bathroom, and I was walking away from the dance floor when the Italian bridesmaid had walked up to me and said, come hang out with me after this. And I had told her, I was like, I can't, I have to hang out with my date. And she said point blank, she's like, fuck your date, come hang out with me. And I was fucking busted out laughing. I was so shocked when she said this. And I told her that I would text her another time, and she said like, okay, well, text me soon. And I wanted to not be a complete douchebag, and ended up going back to the hotel with my date that night I had come with. But to be honest, like I really wanted to stay with the Italian bridesmaid. But I would never be able to like just ditch my date and just stay at the hotel they were staying at. Because I had driven my date to the, that weekend to the wedding. So that would have never worked. But if the moral of the story is if girls are giving you positive responses or laughing at your jokes or flirting with you, this will make a girl more attracted to you. And on the contrary, if a girl notices that women are dismissive towards you, aren't that enthusiastic to be in your presence, it can actually make her less attracted to you, even if she does have attraction towards you. Where I think pre-selection doesn't go as far is when guys take pictures with groups of girls that they obviously aren't dating. It can come off as very try-hard if the girls obviously look like they don't know you or don't really want to be around you. Like if you're not an attractive guy, or let's just say you're a guy that's like unattractive and you have tons of photos with very attractive women, a lot of women will be able to see through that, and they'll be able to see that those girls don't really like you. And some of those girls don't even know you, and it can definitely cause, but on the contrary, it can definitely cause women to be curious about you if you are attractive, or if you're not the most attractive guy, but they'll be thinking like, oh, how does he know these girls? Like it definitely can play in your favor to an extent. You do have girls around you. If girls are responding well to you, it can definitely make other women more comfortable around you, but it probably won't cause attraction in the vast majority of cases. Having photos with attractive women, I think, can still help. But if you're at least somewhat attractive, as long as you actually know these women and they at least look like they're enjoying your presence, I think also having female friends can help to an extent. It can definitely help. When girls see you with other girls, it does make them feel more comfortable around you, and they probably assume that you don't smell really bad, or you're not a serial killer at the bare minimum. And I will say, when other women vouch for you from a dating perspective, they can set you up with their friends, and you have an easier in that way. I remember in the past, there'd be, a girl from work, or, a girl in our friend group that would set me up with another girl, and, tell the girl, hey, do you think he's cute? Do you want to go on a date with him? And they'll, put in a good word for you. And I found that when women put in a good word for you with their friends, it can definitely help, and, it can definitely help your dating life. And, those girls are more likely to go on a date with you because that girl is vouching for you, saying you're a good guy, or saying that you're cute and you're single, whatever they say to kind of like, talk you up. So the other part of pre-selection that really helps is when a girl's friends think that you're attractive. That can really, really help. Or like if a girl's family member thinks that you're attractive, it also actually really, really helps. I remember I was dating this other Italian girl years ago, and I had met her cousin, and I guess later on that day after like the event, she had said, hey, my cousin thought you were really hot. And, like I said, this girl was already dating me for a while, but I just could tell that it like her cousin finding me attractive definitely really, really helped. And then there was this other time when I met a girl's friend, and the next day, the girl that I'd gone on a date with had showed me a text that her friend thought I was like really hot. And it definitely really, really helps when a girl's friends think that you're attractive, because if a girl's friends don't think you're that attractive and they tell her things like you can do better, then that's going to make her like way less attracted to you in the end. Because with women, like I said, they definitely they need to have some sort of a co-signer and when they make those dating decisions. All in all, I definitely think pre-selection can really help, especially in person. But I definitely think it's not a total magic pill. But overall, I think it can be a good strategy if you're at least decent looking and you have, decent social skills. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like. Feel free to comment down below your experience with pre-selection, and feel free to subscribe. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care.